How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here, and welcome back to another episode of the Wowhead Economy Weekly Wrap-Up. This is going to be episode 194. First thing we do every time is we give a big shout out to Samadan, who takes the time and the effort to put this little report together. It goes up on the Wowhead blog every Sunday. Now, I apologise, I'm a day late to this week as I took a slightly extended break as it was my birthday weekend this weekend. But we're back at it. We're going to go through, we're going to catch up with what's going on and hopefully, you know, offer my 2 cents on what we might be able to do going forward. So let's take a look at the table of contents. This week we have some new starter armor in patch 9.1.5 and a potential gold making opportunity that lies with it. We have the results from flipping 1 million cards. These, I believe, are the Card of Omens, which were from the garrisons back in WoD. You could make these Card of Omens and you could flip them, and there was the opportunity of turning them into some big, juicy gold cards. I think the maximum was a 6,000 gold card, which is, you know, kind of a cool thing. It's a bit gambly, but if you do your prices on the things, you'll there's opportunities here. There's also alchemy crafters marks has hit the attention of many. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. There's the token price, which I actually tweeted out just yesterday, that the token price over on the EU is hit 300,000 gold now. We are seeing some ridiculous prices, and just how high do we think it will go? And then, of course, there is some further reading for those of you that want to sort of catch up and dive in a little bit deeper. So, first topic of conversation is the new starter armor in patch 9.1.5. One of the recent updates is the change to the starter armor, giving a high resolution upgrade. What does this mean for the original and often class and race specific items? Well, they're going to disappear for good, and if this is the case, there may be an opportunity to sell these items in the future to players missing the old aesthetic. Many of these items are not transmoggable either, so you will need the actual item. Kraken Latte's put together a video going through how to pick all of them up, but this is an interesting one, right? This is an indication that there is going to be a huge amount of appearance-based armor that is just disappearing out of the game. We know that people love their transmog. We are very, very aware that people will spend large amounts of time hunting down their transmog collections. There are specific RP realms out there that focus very heavily on the appearance of their characters. And so transmog is a big part of the game to many people. And if they are going to be removing arguably huge amounts of appearances. Now, I'm sure the smart people out there will probably do some cross-checking and see if these original appearances are actually duplicated on any other items. So I would imagine not every single piece is unique, meaning you can probably get it from another source somewhere other in the game. But check out Kraken Latte's video. The videos are usually pretty good. They're going to go through all the ins and outs. I must admit, I've not seen this one myself personally, but for Samadan to have put it in the blog, it must be at least somewhat reasonable. So make sure you go check out Kraken Latte's video, give it a like, throw them a sub, as you know, us YouTubers do appreciate that sort of stuff. Samadan's put some suggestions to collect a bunch of them just in case and store them for a few months. If it looks like they're going to be unobtainable after this point, then they might be a nice little earner in the future. And, oh, if you know of anybody who wants to buy my 1,000 solid shot I still have in the bank, let me know. Yeah, this is a good indication. And although Samadan, I think, put this in as a bit of a meme, it does go to show that just because something gets removed from the game doesn't necessarily mean that it will go up in value, because, you know, if nobody cares about it in the first place, then it doesn't matter. Somebody has pointed out that they're not transmogs, they are just the white items. This is true, but of course, if you can obtain the same appearance from another piece of gear that is transmoggable, then, you know, you just do that as an alternative. That yes, the white items aren't transmoggable. You do actually need to equip them, So it's like it's an homage to the very, very old days when people tried to put together transmog sets before transmog was actually a thing where you actually had to wear the items to get the appearance from them. But the point still stands. People chase after the appearances quite heavily nowadays. I would say the customization of your character is a high priority to many people. So, you know, if these things are going away, there could be an opportunity there. But it's very speculative. Do as you please with that information. Next on our topic of conversation for today is Drizzling Rose has been at it again. Flipping outrageous numbers of cards, right? So Drizzling Rose is mostly known for the Garrison Goldmaking Guide, and it's proof that you don't necessarily need TSM to make huge amounts of gold, and has reached a statistical milestone of flipping 1 million Card of Omens. One thing that I don't think is highlighted here is just how much time it would actually take you to flip 1 million of these cards. Because you have to flip each one individually. Sure, you can probably macro them to get put a macro and assign it to a scroll wheel or something to do it relatively quickly. But even the crafting of the cards, crafting 1 million anything has to take a long, long time. But there's some really interesting things to see here for it. Right, so for those that are less educated, the Card of Omens is an inscription craft that was introduced in Warlords of Draenor. You could make, I can't remember the exact process, but you basically use your inscription hut or your scribe's hut in your garrison, and there's a daily cooldown that allows you to create a bunch of these Cards of Omens. Now, when you flip them, it's a random chance of what value that card will be in terms of gold, and the gold you get is just when you vendor those eventual cards. I think you create what are called blood cards. And now you can see there's the different gold values. So they start at like 1 copper, and by no surprise to anybody, the 1 copper ones are the highest % chance of acquiring those, and they slowly step up in gold value and at the same time decrease in chance for you to get them, all the way to an eventual 6,000 gold in a single card that you would acquire when you then sell it to a vendor. So, back in the day, and obviously even to this day still, there are lots of people that have their Warlords of Draenor garrisons up and running, and probably have scribe huts up and running for the purpose of making these cards. If you go check your auction house right now, I wouldn't be surprised if you find tens of thousands of these cards being listed on the auction house. But now, with 1 million cards being flipped, we can say with pretty strong amount of certainty to what the average value of each card is, of which works out to be 4.6 gold. So what's the gold making opportunity here with this? Well, if you are firstly crafting these cards yourself and you're trying to sell them on the auction house, you should probably be selling them for more than 4.6 gold each. Why? Because people love to gamble, right? People could, in theory, there is the chance that somebody could buy 1 card for like 5 gold off you, flip it, and it flip into a 6,000 gold card. It's the nature of gambling, right? If people think there's a chance to, you know, hit the jackpot, they will give it a go. What you probably shouldn't be doing is selling your Card of Omens for much less than 4.6 gold. Because at that point, you should maybe just flip them yourself. You could argue like anything though, the time it takes for you to flip them yourself, it may or may not be worth it to you depending on how much they sell for. But put it this way, if you see them on your auction house for much less than 4.6 gold, if you flip enough of them, you'll turn a profit. But the point is that you will need to flip enough of them. The likelihood is that you'll probably have to spend a lot more initially before you start seeing big returns on this. I'm not going to teach you how to gamble correctly. Gambling is still gambling, be aware of that. But now that we know that, you know, if you turn enough of these cards over, there is the probability of making some gold, and we know a baseline value for each card, there are opportunities there for those that are smart. smart goblins. I think that with that many cards, it's pretty solid in terms of statistical data. Not to mention, this is nearly a Brutosaur in value just from the cards. Once again, nicely done, Drizzling Rose, and thank you for sharing the data. Yeah, that is true. So, like, 1 million cards results in nearly 5 million gold in value. Now, of course, you have to remember that Drizzling Rose has, I believe, 50... Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think she has 50 garrisons up and running, probably churning out these cards. And it did take from December in 2019 to September in 2021 to achieve this. So, I mean, if you break it down on a day-by-day basis, if you break it down on a month-by-month basis, it's not a lot. In the grand scale of things, it's not a lot, but it just shows when you do anything at scale, the numbers can explode pretty impressively. So big shout out to Drizzling Rose. Make sure you go follow her on Twitter. She's pretty active over there. This is some good data for sure. Next on our topic of conversation, though, is the Alchemy Crafters Marks. Now, the credit has been given to the Lazy Goldmaker on this, as he started shouting about it on Twitter. But this originally came, the first time I saw of this, somebody posted on the Wowhead, the WoW Economy subreddit, sorry. And somebody was just basically running their mouth about the fact that they were making a killing, making their crafters marks with alchemy, and basically bragging about how much gold they'd made, and bragging about the fact that they'd crashed the market prices to annoy other goblins. And of course, it caused a riot in the subreddit for a day or two. It was quite a funny read. Maybe I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. But this caught the eye of Lazy Goldmaker, who started tweeting about, just saying, well, this is actually pretty powerful. Apparently, the Alchemy Crafters Marks are now extremely cheap. So with anybody with the willpower to grind an extra few characters through Korthia with full alchemy coverage can make out like a bandit. Or if you happen to have alchemy combined with any other crafting profession, you can cut your prices to a point to where everybody who just does not have alchemy will be unable to compete with you. I'm going to use this opportunity to highlight my Shadowlands cheat sheet real quickly. And if I select the right sheet, let's just change this to the optional reagents for 9.1. This cheat sheet for reference is available through my Discord, so use the link in the description down below. The cheat sheet is, or the most recent version of the cheat sheet is always pinned up on Discord. But the optional reagents, you put in your realm's prices, and you can see what comes out to be the cost. In both cases now, for both Crafters Mark 3 and Crafters Mark 4, it usually turns out that alchemy is considerably cheaper. Very considerably cheaper as well. I mean, in terms of Crafters Mark 3, it's a lot closer. But for the item level 230, the Crafters Mark... Well, it's not called Crafters Mark 4, is it? Crafters Mark of the Chained Isle, to give it its full name. You can potentially save somewhere in the region of about 700 gold in crafting cost just by, you know, utilizing alchemy. If you can get that alchemy up and running on the same character that also has dual crafting, blacksmithing, leatherworking, or tailoring, you can make your crafters marks considerably cheaper and in turn be able to price your crafted items considerably less than what other people are able to do. Everybody has their minimum price, and their minimum price is, by no surprise to anybody, there or thereabouts what it costs them to craft. If you're able to undercut even further than that and still turn a profit, you put yourself in a very, very comfortable position to basically corner the market, right? The only other people that are going to be able to compete with you are other alchemists. So with them being fewer and further between than maybe your tailors, your leatherworkers, your blacksmiths, or your jewel crafters, this is a really good way to try and corner what is still a very profitable market. But don't be too aggressive, right? The likelihood is that if you're too aggressive on price, you'll just annoy people on your realm, and there's no need to go out of your way to annoy people. But consider it an option. In my opinion, it's just smart goblin work, really. if you focus on getting your materials for less than everybody else gets their materials for, you win. It's quite simple. But consider it. Go check the numbers yourself. Go have a look and see what the options are. If, of course, you're in the Crafters Mark III or the Crafters Mark IV markets, they're still nicely profitable on most realms. So give it a little bit of a look. There's some interesting stuff to be had if you happen to get alchemy on one of those characters as well. Samadan's put a little bit of a table together indicating what the crafting price is of a Crafters Mark III on, I believe, what is his home realm of Shadowsong EU. And you can see very quickly that alchemy is quite considerably cheaper. So if you're crafting blacksmith gear, if you're crafting leatherworking gear, or if you're even crafting tailoring gear, I mean, over 1,000 gold difference between crafting the same item with tailoring as to what it would be with alchemy. That's crazy difference. If you can sell things for 1,000 gold less and still make a profit, tailors have got no chance to compete with that. And you will very quickly corner the market and probably make a ton of gold at the same time. Cool little spot there. Very, very cool to see. Now an interesting one. The token price. Oh my days. The token price is doing ridiculous things. A subject that is often of speculation and one that's very important to gold making is the price of the token. Of course, many people play this game and make or choose to try and make gold in this game for one simple reason, that they would like to be able to buy WoW tokens to either turn into Blizzard balance to maybe fund their adventures in other Blizzard games, or for the most part turn it into game time so that they don't have to take their credit card out to play World of Warcraft. So the token price is quite a good thing to keep your eyes on, and we've now hit over in the EU at least, we've hit over 300,000 gold for the WoW token, and it is very close to 200,000 gold on the NA, which is record highs. Not all-time record highs, it was slightly higher back in Legion, but it's ridiculously high. Somebody posted that the token price of 300,000 gold is now the price on the EU. It seems that WoW is in very much a downturn, an exodus of players, and this is going to keep the token price high. Yeah, token prices are not going to go down until there's some significant new content, because the main factor of driving down the token price is more and more people buying the token price with real money. But if you don't need gold in the game right now because there's not any, there's not any new content kicking about, then people don't need gold, and in turn they don't buy tokens with real money, meaning eventually the token price just keeps steadily going up. This person has quoted a long-time past gold maker, in fact, even though he basically plays Hearthstone for a career nowadays. But Kriparian used to be really quite good at making gold in World of Warcraft. Some of you may or may not be aware of that, but he once said that you need a lot of casuals to make a good MMO. And this is based on the theory that it's the casual player base to the game that keep things afloat, keep things ticking over. Min-maxers will always do their min-maxing, and you could say that Mythic Raiders min-max the raid, where Gold Goblins min-max the gold making and the economy, and it's the casuals that just keep things ticking over, right? The gold goblins out there are usually going to be the ones that, like is said here, ends up sitting on a lot of gold, maybe not necessarily spending it on too much, but it's the casuals that just keep things flowing. And without that large sort of foundation of players, you just leave everything in the hands of the 1%. The token price is only going to go up because of this. Also want to note that inflation, whilst not craziest in Warlords of Draenor or Legion, is still going strong. A lot of gold is being generated, and this will also keep the price up. I'm in two minds about whether there is just that much inflation currently I don't think there's quite as much inflation as people believe there is, because I would imagine the average player in Shadowlands feels relatively poor. Gold makers, and if you're watching this video now or you're reading this report for yourself, you've probably got a much higher interest in gold making than the average player does. I would imagine that with legendaries alone, legendaries have been a huge expense to the average player of this game. Having a high rank legendary is almost mandatory, and the cost implication of having that just one item is really, really quite expensive. So much so that people have been incentivized to buy a token with real money just to be able to afford their legendary in many cases. This is something that's not really been a situation before. In past expansions, if you wanted to spend a lot of gold, there was always things that you could buy, but none of them were like mandatory to be able to play the game. And now I'm not saying legendaries are mandatory, but they're a lot more so than that shiny new mount ever was in the past expansion, or that best in slot BOE item. You could always get away with not having that best in slot BOE item if you really wanted to, but if you turn up to a raid without a legendary on, then the other 19 players in your raid are going to look at you funny. Let's look at some data though. Let's back this up with a little bit of data. So we can see here that we have both the EU token price in red and the US token price in blue. And we can see since the Shadowlands release, we took a big dip in token price with Shadowlands release for the reasons that we mentioned before, right? People are incentivized to... There's lots of shiny new things for you to spend your gold on at an expansion release. There's new pets, there's new mounts, there's no new gear, there's loads of new stuff. Many, many reasons for people to spend gold in the game, and in turn incentivized to buy tokens to be able to afford all of that. So the token price will usually dip pretty heavily at the start of an expansion, but as less and less people are incentivized to buy all of those shiny things, or they've already bought those shiny things, the price starts to, you know, rise a little bit. And with any new piece of content, the price will usually dip a little bit, but of course it's never going to dip quite as hard or quite as far as an expansion release. And as you can see, very quickly this time, we've resulted in prices very similar to what they were just before the release of patch 9.1. Now, we're only halfway through the 9.1 patch. 9.1.5 is still on the PTR. We don't have it in our hands yet. We have no idea how long it's going to be until patch 9.2 releases. So if this trend is to continue, it would not surprise me if we're at, you know, 350, 400,000 gold by the time that patch 9.2 comes out, which would in turn historically be a greater value than even what it was back in Legion. If we look at the next graph here, we can see historically most people consider Legion to have had the highest token price, which in fairness it did. It peaked at over 350,000 gold in Legion and then crashed pretty heavily at the start of BFA. We are arguably only halfway through the expansion as it currently stands, and we're already right on the heels of 350,000 gold for a token. I think we could see some ridiculous things. I'm expecting it to hit 450k before patch 9.2. That would not surprise me either. I think we're going to get some historically outrageous numbers for the token prices. Isn't the cap 350? There isn't a cap. There isn't a cap. This is the point. Blizzard does have some influence on the token price, but there's realistically it can just go. It can go. So we're going to see some interesting things in the upcoming future. So keep your eyes on it. If you're trying to play this game using the tokens to get your game time, though, be aware that especially if you're farming your gold, you're going to have to dedicate a lot of time to acquiring that gold, and it's not going to get you as far as it once did. At 300,000 gold for a single token, that's 10k a day that you need to be generating. If you take a day off playing World of Warcraft, that means you need to come back and make 20k when you come back. it's a steep requirement to play this game for free right now. Yeah, I can only leave you with that, really. Maybe we'll put some content together looking at ways that you can achieve these magical numbers to continue playing this game for free, if that's your end goal. Pringles has left a comment on this saying, what gets the token price up is going to be things like a content drought and people converting their gold into Blizzard balance to buy other games or services on sale. And then what gets the token down in price is, well, people buying the token. This is also going to have a knock-on effect when we have Diablo launched at the end of this month. We have Call of Duty being launched very soon as well. There is a bunch of games on the horizon which may in turn cause people to cash out their Blizzard gold into tokens, turn it into Blizzard balance to help fund those other games, which weirdly will only push the token value up even higher. So we'll have to see. Right now, there's a lot less players and no real reason to buy gold in WoW. No new content coming anytime soon will keep it rising, and with a bigger WoW service sale or Battle.net game, you could see even bigger growth. 9.1.5 is certainly different from other 0.5s, as of right now, it's well received from the announcements and some big changes that were asked for, but it's not a big content patch that is going to bring people back. Yes, 9.1.5 is a quality of life patch. It's not a content patch. It is unlikely to bring players back to the game if they've already off to do other things. It won't be until, in my eyes at least, it won't be until patch 9.2 before we see that spike of players come back again. Meaning that, yes, it may rise even further, hopefully with no more big spikes from other game purchases. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. We need some more incentives for people to spend gold, some big juicy things. Something like the Brutosaur maybe contributed to the massive drop in price at the start of BFA. The Brutosaur being 5 million gold was a big incentive for people to stockpile their gold and then dump it in one go. There's some suggestions of what could be new gold sinks. A Brutosaur with a caravan on the back, maybe. Maybe you can take, you know, you can add it to your Brutosaur and, I don't know, maybe bring a banker along with you, maybe some other vendors. Maybe you can put your entire Mythic Plus team in the back. Who knows? This is quite a cool concept. I like this. A mailbox at the very least would be lovely to have on a mount. Maybe a multi-person space boat. Drizzling Rose has put together what a space boat could look like. This could be quite cool. A multi-person mount. I think there's a big calling for a multi-person mount, and I think people would probably be willing to drop a lot of gold on these if it turned up. But let's be fair, the Brutosaur was 5 million gold, but it was because it was really cool. It was a unique model back then. Not only was it a unique model, it also had an auction house on the back of it. That's one of the most valuable things in many players' eyes. So Blizzard hit the nail on the head with that. If they do make something like this, it's going to have to be super special for people to want to spend their hard-earned gold on it. But yes, if you have any suggestions for a big gold sink, let us know. At this rate, though, the prices are looking to go higher and higher until there's a reason to get a lot of gold quickly. That is true. Indeed, very, very true. But there we go, boys and girls. There was this week's Wowhead Economy Weekly Wrap-Up. This was episode 194. If you want to do some further reading, you can check out the WoW Economy subreddit, or in turn, they have their Discord server. And of course, once again, big shout out to Samadan, who puts this little report together for us, which gets published up on the Wowhead blog. But I'll leave it there for today, boys and girls. If you like this video, remember to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace!